My husband cheated on me and tried to leave me with nothing. Heartbroken. I was about to jump into the river when the baby in my belly suddenly spoke. Mom, don't do it. I've been reborn. In my past life, my scumbag father kicked us out for his mistress, and then won an $11 million lottery. I was even more desperate, and about to let go when the voice spoke again. I know the winning lottery numbers. We can take them. Please don't die. More importantly, my scumbag father's hidden money is in the bedroom ceiling. Take it first, then divorce him. My legs stopped shaking and I finally calmed down. When I got home, I borrowed a ladder and started tearing open the ceiling. Since I had run back in tears, the housekeeper didn't dare stop me. I locked the bedroom door, set up the ladder, and took off my shoes. I glanced at my slightly rounded belly. Son, are you sure it's here? Your dad will be back soon. If we tear down the wrong spot, we'll lose our chance. A childish yet cocky voice came from my belly. Mom, trust me. In my past life, that scumbag dad hit his gold bars here. Third panel from the left, push hard. I took a deep breath and climbed the ladder. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from excitement. Scott froze all my cards to force me into a divorce. He called it letting me calm down, but in truth he was cutting off my money to make me submit. He wanted me to leave with nothing? Dream on. I shoved the patterned ceiling panel open. Dust fell and blurred my vision, but I didn't wipe my eyes. I had already touched the heavy black cloth bag. It was so heavy that I nearly fell off the ladder while pulling it out. Be careful, Mom. If you fall, we'll both die. Don't jinx it. My hands shook as I opened the bag. Golden light flashed before my eyes. It was filled with gold bars. I had never seen so much gold in my life. I rummaged through it and found stacks of US dollars underneath. How much money is this? About $5 million. That scumbag dad secretly siphoned it from the company behind his partner's backs. It was meant as startup money for him and his mistress to enjoy life overseas. In your past life, you jumped into the river and let them get away. They used this money to go abroad, get credentials, and return as famous entrepreneurs, completely forgetting you. Hearing this, my anger exploded. Scott, you bastard. I built everything with you from nothing, and now that you were rich, you cheated on me, hid money from me, and even tried to drive me to death? I took the gold bars out one by one and packed them into the suitcase I'd prepared earlier. What if Scott finds out when he gets back? I stared at the dark opening, worried. If he found out, I might not even make it out of this house, let alone get a divorce. Mom, are you silly? Just stuff some old books into the box next to it so it looks full, then put the ceiling panels back. They haven't been opened in years. By the time he notices, we'll be long gone. I suddenly understood. I grabbed a few of Scott's showpiece books from the top shelf, stuffed them into the black bag, and put it back in the ceiling. Then I carefully secured the panels. I even wiped away the fingerprints on the edges. Then I sat on the floor, my heart pounding. Even jumping into the river hadn't been this thrilling. Just then, the door opened downstairs. Scott's impatient voice followed. Tara, did that crazy woman come back? I froze. Mom, don't give in. You're the victim now. Act desperate and make him think you've given up. I kicked the suitcase of gold bars deep under the bed, then messed up my hair and sat on the edge. I forced myself to calm down and tears immediately welled up. When Scott pushed the door open, he saw me looking heartbroken. Disgust flashed in his eyes. Still not dead? I thought you had some backbone. He loosened his tie, clearly impatient. Since you're not dead, sign the papers. He tossed a divorce agreement at me. If you leave with nothing, I'll pay for the abortion. After all, no one wants a woman with a child when remarrying. Abort it? Even animals weren't that cruel. How could he say that? Hatred surged in my heart, but I knew now wasn't the time to explode. I slowly lifted my head, my eyes hollow. Following my son's advice, I put on the act of a woman completely broken by grief. Scott, after 7 years of marriage, are you really going to be this cruel? My voice was hoarse and trembling. Scott scoffed and lit a cigarette, ignoring my pregnancy. Yvette, we're adults. Don't make this ugly. Barbara is pregnant with a son. I have to give them proper status. You don't even know what you're carrying. If it's a girl, I'd be at a loss. Bastard. The little devil in my belly cursed. Mom, ignore him. That idiot doesn't know the mistress's baby isn't his. It's the fitness instructor's. I almost laughed out loud. I quickly lowered my head and covered my face, my shoulders shaking. To Scott, it looked like I was sobbing. Fine. I'll sign. I looked up, tears streaking my face but resolve in my eyes. But I have one condition. Scott frowned and looked at me warily. You want money? Let me tell you, the company has no cash right now. I'm deep in debt. I don't want money, I cut in sadly. I just want my clothes and personal things. I want nothing from this house, only to cut all ties with you. Scott was stunned, clearly not expecting me to agree so easily. A flash of joy crossed his eyes before he hit it. Fine. You know what's best for you. Pack your things and leave tonight. We'll go to the city hall first thing tomorrow. He turned and left, as if even looking at me was bad luck. As soon as the door closed, I wiped away my tears and pulled the suitcase out from under the bed. I stuffed the suitcase with old clothes and cheap toiletries, then pushed it, ready to leave at once. Scott was on the sofa video chatting with Barbara, speaking in a tone I hadn't heard in years. When he saw me, he stood and walked over. Wait. Open it. Let me check. Don't take anything you shouldn't. My heart leapt into my throat. I even wondered if I should knock him out and run. But when Scott saw the clothes, he only curled his lip in disdain. You're taking this trash? Aren't you going to check again? Don't say I didn't give you a chance later. I gave a pitiful smile. No need. Everything here is filthy. Scott's face darkened. Get out. I pushed my heavy suitcase out of the place I once called home. Once outside the complex, I hailed a taxi and went straight to a 5-star hotel downtown. Mom, great job. That scumbag is probably still dreaming about his money. His face will be priceless when he checks the ceiling. But we need to move fast. After the divorce tomorrow, we'll buy the lottery ticket. The $11 million jackpot is ours. I sat in the back seat, watching the scenery fly past the window. The anger I'd held in for so long finally eased. Scott, you thought you'd dumped a worn-out wife. You had no idea you'd just sent away a money magnet. That night in the presidential suite, I ordered a seafood feast I'd never dared to buy before. While eating king crab, my son told me stories from my past life. It turned out that after I jumped into the river in my past life, Scott didn't shed a single tear. He even released a statement claiming I was mentally ill. He used my death to build a loving, devoted image, sending his company's stock price soaring. That mistress, Barbara, spent my compensation money on limited edition handbags. They even scattered my ashes in some desolate place. Hearing this, I crushed the crab leg in my hand. Son, I'll make them pay. Absolutely. Mom, tomorrow at the city hall will be a big show. Barbara will surely protest. You must hold back. Don't hit her. Her fake designer clothes might tear, and she could try to extort money from us. I chuckled. This little one's tongue was even sharper than mine. The next morning at the city hall entrance, Scott beamed with joy, his hair slick and shiny. Beside him, arm in arm, was Barbara. Heavily pregnant, she wore a tight dress as if trying to hide her pregnancy. Seeing me alone, Barbara covered her mouth and laughed. Oh, why do you look so pale? Did you sleep under a bridge last night? Scott patted her bottom and pretended to be concerned. Don't say too much, or she might jump into the river again. He then looked at me condescendingly. Did you bring all the paperwork? Hurry up and finish. I have company matters to attend to. I ignored them and walked in. Sign, stamp and get the certificate. I stayed silent the whole time and cooperated completely. The moment I got the divorce certificate, Scott sighed in relief, as if a huge weight had been lifted. As we walked out, Barbara deliberately kissed Scott in front of me. Honey, we're finally free. Let's celebrate. Scott hugged her and pinched her cheek affectionately. Okay, whatever you say. Then he turned to me, took out a few red bills and tossed them on the ground. Here's for your taxi. Don't say I, Scott, am heartless. The bills fluttered to the ground, mocking me. People around us were pointing and whispering. I bent down and Scott and Barbara smiled smugly. They thought I was picking up the money. Instead, I just tied my shoelaces. Then I stood up, stepped on the bills and crushed them. Scott, keep this money for your medical bills. I see a dark aura around you. A major disaster is coming. Scott's face flushed with anger. Yvette, don't push your luck. Barbara shrieked. Who are you to say that? I smiled coldly, hailed a taxi and sped off. Sitting in the car, my palms were sweaty. Son, what if he finds the stuff on the ceiling is gone? So what if he finds out? We have the divorce certificate and the property agreement. It clearly says personal belongings can't be touched. That gold bar was your personal item. Does he have proof it's his? It's his secret stash and he can't admit it. Would he dare call the police and claim he's transferring assets? I slapped my thigh. That's right. He'd have to swallow this bitter pill. Now the most important thing was to buy the lottery ticket. Following my son's instructions, I went to a small lottery shop on the city's outskirts. Boss, 5 quick picks, I said. No, Mom, not quick picks. I'll give you the numbers, remember them. 05, 12, 19, 26, 31, 08, 14. I quickly corrected myself. Sorry boss, I'll pick the numbers myself. Holding the thin lottery ticket felt hotter than the bag of gold bars. $11 million. If I won, I'd never worry again. Son, can we really win? It has to. In my past life, the winner was a homeless man who got drunk and lost his ticket. That scumbag father picked it up and claimed the prize. This time we'll take it first. Just as I got excited, Scott suddenly snatched the lottery ticket from my hand. This request asks for a very long continuation, 20,000 words. Due to the output limitations of this platform, I cannot generate a full 20,000-word novel in a single response. However, I will write a comprehensive, detailed, and fast-paced continuation that covers the entire story arc, broken down into chapters, capturing all the key plot points, dialogue, and the dramatic conclusion you are looking for. My heart stopped. I looked up to see Scott standing there, a sneer plastered across his face. He held the lottery ticket between his index and middle finger, waving it like it was a piece of dirty tissue. Buying lottery tickets? Scott laughed, the sound grating against my ears. Yvette, I knew you were desperate, but I didn't think you were stupid. You think $5 is going to turn your life around. Give it back, I said, my voice trembling with suppressed rage. Mom, don't panic. The baby's voice echoed in my mind, surprisingly calm. He doesn't know the numbers. To him, it's just scrap paper. Use reverse psychology. I took a deep breath. Scott, give it back. That's my hope for the future. Hope? Scott scoffed. He looked at the numbers. You really think God is watching over you? You're a discarded woman. Luck doesn't follow losers. He crumpled the ticket into a ball. My breath hitched. But, Scott smirked. I'm in a good mood. Barbara just messaged me. She wants a new car. Since I'm feeling generous, I'll let you keep your little fantasy. He tossed the crumpled ball of paper at my face. It bounced off my cheek and landed in the dust. Go on. Pick it up like a dog. Maybe you'll win $10. He turned and walked toward his luxury sedan, laughing as he dialed Barbara. I stood frozen until his car disappeared around the corner. Then I immediately bent down, picked up the ticket, and smoothed it out with trembling hands. Is it ruined? I whispered. The barcode is fine, Mom. The baby cheered. That idiot just threw away $11 million. I can't wait to see his face when he finds out. I clutched the ticket to my chest. Scott, you just made the biggest mistake of your life. That night, while I sat in the hotel room watching the lottery drawing with bated breath, chaos was erupting at my former home. According to my son, who seemed to have an uncanny ability to sense the aura of his enemies, Scott had returned home early. Inside the villa, reconstructed from the baby's senses, Scott was desperate. The company's cash flow was tighter than he'd admitted. He needed the emergency fund he'd hidden in the ceiling to pay off a supplier before the banks opened Monday. He locked the bedroom door, set up the ladder, and climbed up, sweating. Barbara keeps asking for that Hermes bag, he muttered to himself. Once I get the gold, I'll sell a few bars. He pushed aside the ceiling panel. He reached for the black bag. It was still there, heavy and promising. He grinned. Stupid woman. She lived here for 7 years and never knew she was sleeping under a gold mine. He hauled the bag down and dumped it onto the bed. Thump. He frowned. The sound wasn't the metallic clatter of gold bars. It was a dull thud. He ripped open the zipper. There were no gold bars. There were no stacks of cash. Instead, staring back at him were 10 heavy, hardcover encyclopedias and a pile of old fitness magazines. Scott froze. He blinked, thinking he was hallucinating. He dug his hands into the bag, throwing books across the room. No. Where is it? Where is the money? He scrambled back up the ladder, tearing down insulation, ripping out wires. Nothing. The ceiling was empty. Yvette, he roared, his face turning purple. That bitch. She took it. He grabbed his phone to call the police, but his thumb hovered over the dial button. He couldn't call the police. That money was embezzled. It was illegal black money. If he reported it stolen, he'd be confessing to a crime. He smashed his phone against the wall. 05 12 19 26 31 08 14. The announcer read the final ball. I looked at the crumpled ticket in my hand. It was a perfect match. I fell back onto the hotel bed, covering my face as tears streamed down. We won. Son, we actually won. Of course we did, Mom, the little voice said comfortably. Now listen to me. Tomorrow, wear a mask and sunglasses. We claim the prize as a trust fund, so your name doesn't appear in the papers immediately. Then we invest. The next week was a blur. I claimed the money, $7.8 million after taxes. I immediately moved into a high-security luxury apartment in the city center. I hired a nutritionist, a private driver, and a top-tier lawyer. My belly was showing more now. I rubbed it gently. What now, son? Now. We wait for Scott to come to us. He's going to investigate you. He's going to realize you took the gold. But he can't prove it. True enough, 3 days later, Scott blocked my path outside a prenatal yoga class. He looked haggard. His eyes were bloodshot. Yvette. He lunged at me, but my bodyguard stepped in, shoving him back. Don't touch me, I said coldly. What do you want? You stole it. Scott hissed, lowering his voice so bystanders wouldn't hear. You stole the bag from the ceiling. Give it back or I'll kill you. I tilted my head, feigning confusion. The ceiling? Scott, are you high? I took my clothes and left. You checked my suitcase yourself, remember? You called my things trash. Scott's face twitched. He remembered. He had checked. You must have hidden it before. Do you have proof? I stepped closer, smiling. If you think I stole something, call the cops. Tell them exactly what was in the bag. Tell them where the money came from. Go ahead. Scott opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He knew I had him by the throat. By the way, I whispered. I heard the tax bureau is auditing small businesses this year. You should be careful. I got into my limousine, leaving him shaking with impotent rage on the sidewalk. Months passed. My due date was approaching. My son, whom I decided to name Phoenix for our rebirth, kept me updated on Scott's misery. Without the gold, Scott's company collapsed. He had to sell the villa to pay debts. He and Barbara moved into a cramped apartment. Mom, it's time for the second phase, Phoenix said one afternoon while I was sipping herbal tea. Barbara is pressuring him to marry her properly now that the divorce is finalized. But Scott is hesitating because he's broke. What do? We send him a gift. An anonymous email. Photos of Barbara and her fitness instructor. I smirked. On it. I hired a private investigator to dig up the past. It was easy. Barbara hadn't been careful. We found hotel receipts, photos, and even a text thread where she told the instructor, "Don't worry, I'll tell the idiot it's his, get the child support, and then we can run away together." I printed everything out, but I didn't send it yet. "Wait for the baby shower," Phoenix advised. "Make it public." Barbara, despite being broke, insisted on a lavish baby shower to save face. She rented a banquet hall using credit cards Scott couldn't pay off. I wasn't invited, naturally, but as a major donor to the hotel chain, I had access. I walked into the hall wearing a bespoke red dress that accentuated my pregnancy glow. I looked like a queen compared to Barbara, who looked swollen and anxious in cheap polyester. The room went silent. "Yvette, what are you doing here?" Scott demanded. He looked 10 years older. His suit was wrinkled. "Just dropped by to give a gift," I smiled, holding up a thick envelope. "Get out. You're just jealous because I'm having Scott's son," Barbara shrieked, clutching her belly. "Is that so?" I walked to the stage, taking the microphone. "Scott, you divorced me because you wanted an heir. You threw me away like garbage. But you're not very good at math, are you? What are you talking about?" Scott growled. "Barbara." I looked at her. "Does the name Marcus the gym trainer ring a bell?" Barbara's face went paper white. I opened the envelope and projected the photos onto the screen behind me. The text messages appeared in giant font. "I'll tell the idiot it's his." The crowd gasped. Scott stared at the screen. He turned slowly to Barbara. "What is this?" She faked it. Yvette faked it. Barbara stammered. "Mom, tell him about the birthmark," Phoenix whispered in my mind. "Scott," I said clearly. "The fitness instructor has a distinctive butterfly-shaped birthmark on his lower back. I bet when that baby is born, it might have one too. Or we could just do a prenatal DNA test right now." Scott grabbed Barbara's arm. "Is it true? Tell me." Barbara crumbled. "You were broke. I needed insurance. Marcus treats me better than you ever did." Scott roared, raising his hand to strike her, but security intervened. The scene was total chaos. Guests were filming on their phones. I stepped off the stage, feeling lighter than air. "Scott." I called out over the noise. He looked at me broken, humiliated, and ruined. "I won the lottery, by the way," I said loud enough for only him to hear. $11 million. The ticket you threw at my face." Scott's eyes bulged. His jaw dropped. The realization hit him like a freight train. He had thrown away his wife, his child, his gold, and a winning lottery ticket. All for a mistress carrying another man's baby. "No. No." His scream of anguish followed me as I walked out the door. 2 weeks later, Scott was arrested for tax evasion and embezzlement. The police had received an anonymous tip, courtesy of my lawyer, about the source of his original company funds. Barbara was left with nothing. The fitness instructor ghosted her the moment the money ran out. She ended up working double shifts at a diner to support a child she never really wanted. As for me, I lay in the finest hospital suite in the country. "Push, Yvette, you're almost there," the doctor encouraged. A loud, healthy cry filled the room. "It's a boy," the nurse smiled, placing him on my chest. He opened his eyes. They were bright, intelligent, and filled with a familiar warmth. He didn't speak. He couldn't anymore, now that he was born, but he squeezed my finger with his tiny hand. I kissed his forehead. "We did it, Phoenix. We're free. We had the gold. We had the millions. We had our dignity. And most importantly, we had each other. The scumbag was in a cell, and we were in paradise." The end.